Tuned in. We welcome you to this morning's edition of News and Views. And we kick off this morning taking a look at the countdown to the compliance of the AARTO rollout. Now, we're talking about the Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences Act, which is officially set to begin its primary phase on the 1st of December. And as we head towards the end of the year, we know that the roads are going to be full, it's going to be chock a block, and we are seeing this phased implementation of what this whole ARTO rollout is all about. And once the system is obviously activated, there are going to be quite a few changes that one needs to be aware of. Now, someone that we've always spoken to and quite the expert on this matters, and I think we speak to him year after year, particularly when it comes to the holiday seasons, when it comes to the time of the year when the roads are choking and chock a block as well. And just to understand what this law actually mean, what are these changes and this phased approach, how what can be expected as far as motorists are concerned, and more importantly about compliance. The founder and the chief facilitator at FleetMax DriiveSMART, Ashref Ismail. Ashref, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jummah Mubarak to you and welcome.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother United, it's so good to hook up with you again. We should be doing this more often. We're both aging. Sometimes you leave it for too much and too long. We're probably never going to find each other at the end of the year.
Oh, definitely, definitely. What they say, life is short, and obviously within a split second, a lot can change. But also when it comes to roads, when it comes to being a motorist as well, in a split second, a lot can change. And I know you and I have actually discussed so
Okay.
much. But let's talk about the activation, the ARTO activation, because this is obviously a major shift as far as traffic law is concerned. Ashok.
Yes, definitely, Brother Inayat. We're very excited. We're looking forward to it. Just to apply context to our listeners, I think we need to explain that ARTO is a very fancy word standing for Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences. Believe it or not, this particular project was mooted back in 1998 already. It is probably the longest running ever project that has been in gestation. Eventually, in between the years, around about the year 2000, 2005, thereabouts, we had two of the major metropolitan departments, namely you've got Tshwane and Johannesburg, who then adopted it as pilot projects. And now, eventually, after a very, very lengthy pilot phase, if you want to call it that, it is now eventually going to be running out. But then, too, only 69 out of the 233 local authorities that we have in South Africa. So, come 1st of December, the R2D merit system is going to definitely be activated, but the actual demerit points will only kick in from September 2026. Now, in order for us to understand this, and specifically within the South African context, it's basically all about why did we have ARTO? There are two reasons. Number one, government felt that there were many minor traffic offenses that were clogging the traffic courts and the judiciary. So they needed to sort of decriminalize them and turn them into administrative procedures. Hence, AARTO stands for Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences. And the other is the introduction of the demerit system, which now brings us in line with many first world best practice countries. Now, overseas, it's a very simple system. It works very, very effectively. In South Africa, we've got some reservations, but let me leave it for that, for up to that point for now.
Yes, Ashraf, I think what is important to understand is this is a phased approach. And as you mentioned, the final phase we are looking at around September 2026. But again, when we are talking about an administrative system, and this is important to understand because there are a number of issues that one can talk about, whether we're looking at someone who has, received a fine, for example, his for some traffic offense, but also at the same time looking at it from an enforcement perspective as well. So this is a system that is all encompassing and covers, administration, of this road traffic system, or the legal system governing traffic laws. It actually governs it in totality from an administrative perspective.
That's correct. Now, the one good thing about this whole system is that the e-NATIS, the Electronic National Traffic Information System, has now been unified and standardized across all the different tiers of government: national, provincial, and local. That means if you obtained a traffic fine in, say, Graaff-Reinet, you will actually be able to pay that particular fine here in Pretoria, Johannesburg, and vice versa. So the entire system is now going to be linked. Your entire traffic criminal history can now be followed as well. So that is the one thing. The other thing is the issuing of fines, and this is why there was such a back and forth, even up to the Constitutional Court, where they did not want. There were certain groups that actually took government to court to say, listen, they are violating our privacy, they are violating our rights. These things were not delivered to us. According to the Act, a warrant has to be issued in the name of the person in his hands to sign to say, yes, indeed, I did receive it before any action can be taken against that infringer. Now, what happens is the state has revamped that. They have written the law, and they basically said that if a traffic fine is even sent to you by email, in other words, electronically, or for that matter on WhatsApp, it would be deemed that you have already received it. So you cannot actually say, I didn't know, I did not receive the fine. That no longer applies. And then once you receive the fine, the good news is that you have 32 days in which to settle the fine. And if you settle a fine of, say, 500 rands, you get a 50% discount. That means you only pay 250 rands. And of course, if it's a 1,000 rand fine, you'll only pay 500. The reason for this is to incentivize traffic infringers to actually pay traffic fines, because that's another problem, Brother Inayat, that we have a very low compliance when it comes to the payment of traffic fines. And that leads to the circumstances that we currently have in the country. We must also understand that the whole demerit system was brought in and introduced in South Africa purely because of our atrocious road safety record. As you know, between 40 to 45 people die daily on our roads. You won't hear about them because it's not 40 in one incident, but it's 2 here, it's 1 day, it's a pedestrian day, it's a minibus taxi involving 6 passengers somewhere else. And that's basically why this particular demerit system has come into play. And of course, if you pay your fine within the specified period, like I said, you can then claim a 50% discount. What we must also go to is the actual demerit system and how it works. So, what is important to remember is come September 2026, all of us will be starting off on a zero, clean slate, if you like, 0 points, right? And each time you commit a particular offense on the road, for argument's sake, there's a traffic offense schedule which has different points attached to different infringements. Basically, let's say talking on a cell phone, you could accumulate 3 demerit system. Drink and drive, or overtaking on a barrier line, going through a red light, those obviously will carry 5, 6 demerit systems, demerit points. The moment you accumulate 15 demerits points, your license is then suspended. And for how long is it suspended? It is suspended for 3 months for every 1 point over the threshold of 15. So let's say you're sitting on 18 points, right? You were sitting on 14 points. You decided you're going to go through a red light. Boom, he pulls you over and he issues you with a traffic fine plus the demerit point of 4. So you now will be sitting on 14 plus 4, that is 18. So 18 is 3 over 15. So it's 3 multiplied by 3 months, which means your license will now be suspended for 3 months. You are not able to drive a vehicle for 3 months. Now, what you must remember also is that if your license is suspended for 3 consecutive periods, then your license can actually be cancelled and you will have to redo your learner's license and your driving license. So that is the message we must get across. There are lots of criticisms. I know a lot of people say people are driving around without licenses anyway. So what difference is it going to make? I think the difference that's going to be made is that this time there'll be a much more stringent process. They will be coming for you because they have the strong arm of the law backing them up. The traffic officers will be conducting many roadblocks, roadside traffic checkpoints. So it is going to be very difficult to get away from. While I'm at it, Brother Inayat, there is a way in which you can redeem yourself as well. So if you have had your license suspended, you can then, let's say, even if you haven't had it suspended, you're sitting maybe on 12 and you decide, no, I'm going to behave, I'm going to comply, I'm not going to be a bad boy. Okay, not a problem. So for every 3 months in which you have had no incidents, no infringements, you actually lose a point. So you can work from 12, bring it down back to 1 or perhaps 0 as well. So that's where the complications came in that in overseas systems, they didn't have all that complications. In South Africa, once you give it over to consultants, everybody wants to just take things over and it becomes very hectic.
Well, Ashraf, there's just so much that one needs to take into account. But I think what is also absolutely critical is updating of information. Because what I'm saying is, we know that there is going to be history. I mean, I could have owned a car many years ago,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
obviously it hasn't been taken up on the system, or I may be owning a car and I don't have my latest details, for example. So all of that obviously needs to take into account as well, because when we're talking about clearing outstanding fines, I mean, I could have had a fine 2 3 years ago that I may not be aware of. I may have been in another province, for example. I mean, how would all of that actually fit into the implementation of these new laws?
So this was one of what you've just mentioned now, Brother Knight, is one of the many other criticisms that were brought about as well. And that is why it took more than 22 years to actually fully implement the system. And like I said, fully, if you look at it, there's 96 out of 226 local authorities that are going live with it from the 1st of December. So not all of them are going to be on board as well. So the first thing that needed to be cleaned up is, like you say, the e-native system. I used to receive license renewal notifications up until a few years ago for my late dad's Cressida, which he used, I mean, I don't know how many years back. So the e-native system itself is not cleaned up, it's not sorted out, the wrong information is still going out, and that poses a problem. There's the other problem of what if you are driving a vehicle that doesn't belong to you? It's your brother-in-law's vehicle or it belongs to the company. The company proxy says, I'm sorry, I'm just the fleet manager, I don't drive the vehicle. They had a whole lot of other issues related to that which they had to iron out as well. What if it's a foreigner who is driving a vehicle here? You rented a car at the airport, or you are a Zimbabwean citizen living in South Africa, working in South Africa, whatever the case might be. These are things that they had to sort out. According to them, they have now sorted all those kind of things, especially what you have mentioned now also, the cleanup of the native system. So when we start off, whatever outstanding issues you've had, where I'm led to believe that it is going to start off on a clean sheet. But having said that, I'm not sure if you have noticed how many roadblocks we are having currently, especially in Gauteng. You've got Gauteng Metro, Johannesburg Metro Police, you've got Gauteng Traffic, you've got National Traffic Police, all of them basically chasing after outstanding traffic fines. So that is still alive and that's still going to happen. And remember, if you have outstanding traffic fines, you won't be able to conduct any e-natus related transactions. So if you want to renew your PRDP, if you want to apply for a learner's license, or if you want to renew your driving license, or you bought a car, you want to change of ownerships, those kind of things, you won't be able to do anything until you have paid up all those outstanding traffic fines. And the outstanding traffic fines are the ones that have approached what is called warrant phase, not all of them. So this is a discussion maybe for another day about the people who are being threatened to pay up their traffic fines at roadside points. That is not allowed. Only you have to pay are the ones that are at warrant stage, because there's a warrant out for you, they can even arrest you for it. But having said that, The other criticism, Brother Inayat, is that unfortunately, and I want to, as much as a road safety activist that I am, and this, we must understand this is not going to be the silver bullet, at least not in South Africa. Reason being, and this is the one major thing, the level of corruption in South Africa is so high. We know it. I mean, from the top right down to the bottom. Look at it this way. Suppose you're sitting on 12 demerit points, right? You get pulled over because you overtook on a barrier line. And now the traffic officer is basically rubbing his hands in glee and he's wanting to tell you, okay, boss, I see according to the system here, you are sitting on 12. Overtaking a barrier line means four demerit points. So 4 plus 12 is 16. Your license is going to be suspended. How are we going to solve that? That's what he asks you. Basically, he's now soliciting a bribe. Now, can you well imagine the stakes that are involved now? It's no more going to be KFC money. It's no more going to be a 2 liter Coke. Now he's going to probably want to tell you, go to the ATM and let's talk about it. Because are you going to be prepared if your license has been suspended 3 times in a row, ready to go and redo your learner's license and your driving license? Think about that one. And also from the minibus taxi industry, let's take them. They can literally lose their license in 1 day's operation. In 1 day. Because you know how many times they go through red lights. You know how many times they drive in a yellow lane. You know how many times they exceed the speed limit. The guy can literally. So we are all keeping our fingers crossed to see just how effective this is going to be in the real world scenario. But yes, there are many people, myself included, that have our doubts. The level of corruption is going to increase. It's going to undermine everything. These are all things that they have thought about, which is why they took them more than 22 years to eventually roll out. And they had to. They had no choice because there's absolutely no solution to this. And then also you must remember in South Africa, you have the other challenge where road traffic law enforcement takes place during office hours. And most of our fatal crashes occur at night between the hours 1900 hours up until 2400 hours when there's no traffic law enforcement present. So there's no fairness in the system. Traffic and of enforcement in South Africa is more revenue generated than it is driven by safety priorities.
Well, Ashraf, we're going to have to leave it at that. I hope we had a lot more time, but let's look ahead at December the first phase of the rollout, obviously, and then I'm sure you and I will be having a lot more discussions going further. But for now, Jazakallah, and we thank you for your time. And just one more point. I don't know why you mentioned Kharafranet, because that used to be one of my favorite destinations year after year when I had family out there. So I don't know if that's just a
That's why I
coincidence.
said it.
Ashraf, all the best to you, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah so much.
I mean, Ashraf Ismail joining us, founder and chief facilitator at FleetMax DriiveSMART this morning against the AARTO activation. Next up, attorney Ziad Patel.